The airport was a ghost town at 3 a.m., its sterile halls echoing with the hum of distant machinery. I was 27, a graphic designer from Seattle, stuck at Portland International after a missed connection. My flight to Phoenix was delayed until dawn, and the terminal felt like a limbo where time refused to move. Gate B7 was nearly empty, save for a few stranded passengers slumped in their seats. The air was heavy, the kind of stillness that makes your skin prickle. I settled into a hard plastic chair, my laptop bag at my feet, and tried to ignore the faint, unsettling whine coming from somewhere beyond the gate. I was scrolling through my phone, its battery at a dwindling 12%, when I heard it. A soft, rhythmic tapping, like someone drumming their fingers on a countertop. It was faint, but deliberate, coming from the direction of a closed coffee stand near gate B9. I glanced around, expecting to see a bored traveler or maybe a janitor, but the terminal was still. The other passengers, a middle-aged woman knitting, a guy in a suit snoring softly, didn't seem to notice. I stood, stretched, and walked toward the sound, my sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. The tapping stopped as I approached, replaced by an oppressive silence that made my ears ring. The coffee stand was dark, its metal shutter locked tight. I peered into the shadows, half expecting a mouse or a loose pipe, but there was nothing, just the faint reflection of my own face in the glass. I returned to my seat, brushing it off as exhaustion playing tricks. Airports at night have a way of messing with your head. The flickering lights, the endless hum, the way every sound feels amplified in the emptiness. I plugged in my dying phone, but the outlet sparked and went dead. Sighing, I leaned back, closing my eyes. That's when the tapping started again, faster this time, more insistent. It wasn't coming from the coffee stand anymore. It was closer, somewhere near the row of seats behind me. My eyes snapped open, and I turned, scanning the area. Nothing. Just rows of empty chairs and the faint glow of an exit sign in the distance. I stood again, my heart picking up speed. The tapping was rhythmic, almost like a code, and it was definitely coming from behind the seats near gate B8. I called out a cautious, "Hello? Anyone there?" My voice echoed, unanswered, and the tapping stopped instantly. The silence that followed was worse. It felt alive, like it was watching me. I walked toward the gate, my footsteps louder than they should have been. As I rounded the corner, I saw something that made my breath catch. A figure standing at the far end of the concourse near the locked security checkpoint. It was small, maybe 4 feet tall, dressed in a dark coat with a hood pulled up. The figure didn't move, just stood there, facing away from me. "Hey," I called, my voice sharper than I intended. "You okay?" The figure didn't respond. I took a step closer, then another, but the distance between us didn't seem to shrink. The terminal stretched endlessly, the lights dimming as I moved. I stopped, my instincts screaming at me to turn back. The figure turned its head slightly, just enough for me to see the edge of a pale face under the hood. Then, in a blink, it was gone. Not walking away, not running, just gone, like it had dissolved into the air. I stood frozen, my pulse hammering in my ears. The tapping started again, this time from behind me, back near my seat. I spun around, half expecting to see the figure standing there, but the concourse was empty. The other passengers hadn't moved. The woman was still knitting, the man still snoring. I hurried back to my seat, my skin crawling. Something was wrong with this place. The air felt heavier now, like it was pressing down on me. I checked my phone, 3:47 a.m. Time was crawling, and the battery was down to 5%. trying to calm myself. I walked to the tall glass windows overlooking the tarmac. The runway was dark, swallowed by the night, with only a few red lights blinking in the distance. I pressed my forehead against the cold glass, taking slow breaths. That's when I saw it in the reflection. The figure again, standing right behind me. My heart lurched, and I whipped around, but the space was empty. I turned back to the window, and there it was again in the reflection. Closer now, its hood obscuring most of its face. I could just make out a faint smile, thin and unnatural, like it didn't belong on a human face. I stumbled back, my bag slipping from my shoulder. "What do you want?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The reflection didn't move, but the tapping started again, rapid and chaotic, coming from every direction now. I backed away from the window, my eyes darting around the terminal. The other passengers were still there, oblivious, but something about them looked wrong now. The woman's knitting needles moved too slowly, like a video stuck in a loop. The man's snoring sounded too even, almost mechanical. I grabbed my bag and moved toward the main concourse, hoping to find a security guard or an open shop, anything to break this nightmare. As I passed gate B10, I heard a new sound, a low, guttural hum, like someone chanting under their breath. It was coming from the gate area, where a single overhead light flickered. Against my better judgment, I peeked around the corner. The figure was there again, standing in the middle of the gate, its back to me. The hum grew louder, vibrating in my chest, and the air felt thick, like I was breathing through a wet cloth. I turned and ran toward the main terminal, my bag bouncing against my hip. The hum followed me, growing louder, then softer, like it was playing with me. I reached an information desk, panting, and found a gate agent typing at a computer. Relief flooded me. She was real, human, her name tag reading Clara. I blurted out everything, the tapping, the figure, the reflection. She listened, her expression unreadable, then said, "You're not the first to mention something like that at B7. Stay here. I'll call security." She picked up a phone, but as she spoke, her words sounded muffled, like she was underwater. I leaned closer, trying to make out what she was saying, but her voice faded entirely. Her lips kept moving, but no sound came out. Then, without warning, her computer screen flickered and went black. The overhead lights dimmed, and the hum returned, louder now, coming from behind the desk. I backed away, my eyes locked on Clara. She stopped typing and looked up at me, her eyes wide and glassy, like she was seeing something I couldn't. "You shouldn't have looked," she whispered, her voice not her own, low, layered, like multiple voices speaking at once. I bolted, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The terminal felt alive now, the walls pulsing with that same guttural hum. I ran toward the escalators, hoping to reach the ticketing area, but they were off, their metal steps glinting under the dim lights. I climbed them two at a time, my breath ragged. At the top, I stopped, staring down the empty concourse. The figure was there again, standing at the bottom of the escalator, its hood still up. This time, it raised a hand, pointing directly at me. The hum turned into a scream, sharp and piercing, like 1,000 voices crying out at once. I turned and sprinted toward the ticketing area, the scream chasing me. The terminal was completely empty now. No passengers, no staff, just rows of silent check-in kiosks. I slammed my hands against the glass doors to the outside, but they wouldn't budge. My reflection stared back at me, but it wasn't alone. The figure was there again, standing just behind me in the glass. I didn't turn around this time. I couldn't. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out, hands shaking. The screen showed a notification, a photo I didn't remember taking. It was of gate B7, my empty seat in the foreground. But in the background, the figure stood, its hood down now, revealing a face that wasn't a face, just a smooth, blank surface where features should have been. I dropped the phone, my vision blurring. The scream stopped, replaced by that familiar tapping, now slow and deliberate, like footsteps. I turned, unable to stop myself, and saw the figure standing in the middle of the ticketing area, its blank face tilted slightly, like it was studying me. "What are you?" I shouted, my voice breaking. The figure didn't answer. Instead, it took a step forward, its movements jerky, like a puppet on strings. The lights flickered again, and with each flicker, it was closer until it was inches from me. I closed my eyes, bracing for something, anything, but nothing happened. The tapping stopped, and the air grew still. When I opened my eyes, the figure was gone. The terminal was back to normal, the lights steady, the hum gone. A janitor pushed a mop across the floor, glancing at me curiously. "You okay, miss?" he asked. I nodded, unable to speak, and stumbled back to gate B7. My phone was on the floor where I'd dropped it, the photo gone. The other passengers were there, the woman knitting, the man snoring, as if nothing had happened. I boarded my flight at dawn, my hands still trembling. The plane took off without incident, but as we climbed, I looked out the window and saw something that made my blood run cold. On the tarmac below, standing alone under a flickering light, was the figure, its blank face turned up toward the plane. It raised a hand, not waving, but pointing, like it was marking me. I haven't flown since. Every time I close my eyes, I hear that tapping, faint but persistent, like it's waiting for me to listen. If you're ever stuck in an airport overnight, don't follow the sounds. Don't look at the reflections. And if you see a figure in a dark coat near gate B7, walk away. Don't speak. Don't stop. Because whatever it is, it knows you're there, and it's not letting go.